Now, if you had looked at this file before we talked a bit about the YAML syntax, it might have looked overwhelming. My hope is that at this point, it seems very approachable. And now your only question is probably, how do we start using this? We have it in our source folder. How do we pull that in instead of registering everything in our container.php file? So let's do that next. I'm going to close this services YAML file, and I'll jump back to the resource pack directory. And we're going to open up the 9th step container.php loading service YAML file and cleaning container file. Now let's compare the existing container.php file with this one. I'm just going to do a compare with clipboard. So this is our original and this is our updated version. You can see that the updated version is quite a bit smaller because we're removing all of these registrations. We're also doing some cleanup from our previous example where we injected this little var dump to see how the YAML parser converts YAML to arrays. But you can see we start the same way. We create our new dependency injection container. We're removing our set parameter. Here we have some similar code to load our routes file, but we had to change it a little bit. You see this line right here before said new YAML file loader, but now it says new route loader. So the reason is that up here, when we defined the full namespace for our YAML file loader class, we're pulling it from the Symfony component routing loader namespace. However, because we now need to use a YAML file loader for our dependency injection container, we're going to be using another class that is also called YAML file loader that's in our Symfony component dependency injection loader namespace. So if we added use for both of these without creating an alias for them, we would get an error. So instead, what we're doing is renaming them. So the YAML file loader for our dependency injection container, we're going to call DIC loader. And then our YAML file loader for our routing component, we're going to call route loader. So this line right here is the same as this line right here, except we're using a different alias for the class. We also separated out the locator up here so we could use it for our route YAML file discovery, but also use it again for our dependency injection container file discovery. So after we do the routes, everything down here just disappears, except for the part where we return the dependency injection container. And over here, what we're doing instead is we're creating an instance of the DIC loader, which again is the YAML file loader inside of the dependency injection namespace. We're passing it the container, and then we're passing it our file locator instance here. Once our loader is all set, then we just pass it the name of the YAML file, similar to the way that we did with the routes YAML file. And that will take the YAML file and do some generic YAML parsing on it, but also pull in the specific features that are needed for loading that YAML file as services. For example, converting that @ symbol that we saw into a reference object. All right, I'm going to close out this comparison, and let's copy this and paste it into our container.php file and save it. So it should look really simple now. And just to prove that it works, let's go over to the browser and refresh our front.php is leap year /1. And you can see that it says now, nope, this is not a leap year. So it looks like we're now using our routing component,